So we've got a cool pedal here today. It's the Blackstar HT DISTX. The distortion pedal, it's valve powered as you can see, and it says pure valve filth on the front, which I can confirm and I'll show you in a moment. So here's the box. It says the sound in your head on the front of it. So if the sound in your head is not very good, maybe this pedal won't sound very good. I'm not sure how that works. Maybe it's just a marketing ploy, because it's still got EQ on the front, so we can decide what it sounds like. So we're in a look. As you can see, my EQ is not very normal as far as EQ settings go on a pedal. I've got the gain on full, the bass on about just past 9 o'clock, middles are on nothing, trebles nearly full, ISF, which is like it's like a tone shaping thing, which I'll show you, is on full, and that's about all that's relevant. Levels nearly 12 o'clock, it's about 10 o'clock. So the reason that I've got the EQ set like that is because of my amp. So allow me to explain. This pedal has got quite a good range of EQ selections, and you'll never know what's going to be best for you from a preset. I'm not going to be able to say to you this is a great metal preset, because it depends on what your setup's like. My amp, the Carvin Legacy 3 that I'm running through now, is very dark sounding. So if I were to keep the mids and the basses up on this pedal, and Blackstar distortion isn't the brightest distortion in the world either. Some people describe Blackstar as reasonably dark sounding amps. Then I wouldn't be obtaining what I was wanting to obtain by getting this pedal. So basically the backstory for me is this is my usual distorted tone. Which is that kind of round, really fat EQ. It's got quite a lot of highs, a lot of mids and a lot of basses. It's got a lot of everything really. It's a fat, thick, creamy tone, but it's not very articulate. So I've been playing a little bit more metal recently. I've always been a big Marty Friedman fan. I enjoy playing things from Megadeth's Rust in Peace album, which if I were to do it on this set, this is on only a very small amount of volume on the guitar, so this should be cleaning up at this point. Which it is. If I put it on full, it sounds really muddy, and on the lower volumes it doesn't sound too bad, but it doesn't really have that aggression, that kind of pierce that the Rust in Peace sound has. So I was basically wanting to obtain a rhythm tone from another distortion pedal that would get that. So I'll kick this one in and show you what it sounds like. So that's what it sounds like. It's articulate, it's clear, it's heavy, and it's got a little bit less of a low end in the current setup I've got it in. But like I say, that's not necessarily how it will sound in your setup. It depends how you want to use it. I wanted a second distortion unit that had, it is articulate in its nature. You know, it's not going to be by itself a washed out sounding pedal or a muddy sounding pedal. But equally, it's not going to sound as fizzy as a Boss Metal Zone, for example, or as fuzzy as a Fuzz Face. You know, it's got its own kind of sound. The Blackstar distortion sound I might describe as somewhere halfway between a Marshall and a Carvin. It's got a Britishness to it, but this ISF tone knob thing gives you a little bit more to that as well. So I'll explain that in a second, but just to go back to my EQ. So because my amp is dark, it's got a lot of basses, it's got a lot of mids, I basically just got rid of those on the pedal, whacked the treble up, put the presence boost on the clean tone to get a bit more punch and in-your-faceness. Some people might describe it as nails on a chalkboard, like they do about the Rust in Peace album, but that's fine. That's what I was going for anyway, you know. Something really wild, so when you get to that tornado of soul solo. That's what we want. We want something that's really in your face. That this tone, my usual tone, doesn't do quite so well. It's bigger, it's very fat and liquid and all the rest of it. Great for what I normally do. This is my favourite tone. But this is great for when I want to play some metal. So that's cool. So the ISF thing, all the rest of the EQ, I'm not going to go through like, oh, this is what the bass sounds like when it's a bit higher, because you all know what bass does. The ISF control is kind of interesting. So it's on full at the moment. All the way around to the right gives us like a British sound. If I just give you the total opposite experience, let's put it to 0. So Blackstar described that as more the American side. And here's noon, thereabouts, noon. Back up to full, because that's where I want it. Because, as I say, I was kind of modelling this on kind of a Megadeth sound, and they were using Marshalls at the time, so it seems to fit the bill the best. I haven't really finished tweaking around with it. I'm quite happy with how it sounds, but I could play around with the middles that I've totally scooped. So it's pretty good. I mean, you can hear just from a couple of tweaks there. Roll the middle off. Roll the bass off. Introduce the mids without the bass. Introduce the bass to where I had it before. Just with those little tweaks, there's a considerable shift in the sound. So it's very responsive. It's a good responsive pedal. It's got a really organic, genuine sounding distortion because it's a valve pedal, which I haven't actually convincingly got from a solid state pedal yet. Of course, if you're using different to an overdrive, not to be confused, you might think I'm confusing myself here, because I do use the Gemini distortion, which I mentioned before, which is a solid state pedal, but I use that as an overdrive, like a tube screamer. I'm talking using the pedal as the whole distorted channel. I think valve pedals are probably the way forward for that, because if I just switch on my switch that one off, I'll give you a comparison. So this is the red side of the Gemini distortion, just for a quick comparison. Tones at noon, drives at full. It seems to have a bit of a brashness, less of a character. I'll turn the tone up to 3 o'clock. It's hard to describe, but it just sounds more solid statey compared to So yeah, I'm a big fan of the pedal. I'll keep playing around with it and get the sound that I want, but I was convinced as soon as I plugged it in that I'd be able to get the sound that I want, and that's a good sign. It's versatile, the EQ is wide ranging, the flavour of the distortion is not too far any one way, but it's not too fizzy, it's not too fuzzy. I don't like either of those things very much. I'm much more of a fan of the kind of Marshall-y, Bogner-y, carving Blackstar sound rather than the Mesa Boogie sound, for example. So if you're into that kind of pedal, if you know a little bit about Blackstar amps already, you won't be disappointed by this unit. There are other units in the same range, like there's a metal version, the HT Metal, which I've heard isn't much different to this, apart from this has got a bit more gain, so I went for this because I was planning on using this just on a clean channel, and I'm glad I did, because it's doing exactly what I hoped it would do. I got this when it was on sale from Anderton's for £85, it's normally 150, so I was looking at them for a while, but when that offer came up I just thought, well, I can't pass that up really, I'll give it a whirl, and I'm glad I did, glad I pulled the trigger. So would recommend, particularly if you've got a setup like mine where you want an alternative kind of distortion. That was the main reason I got it. I've got a great lead tone, I've got a good rhythm tone for certain types of rock, like my carving tone is great for some Deep Purple, for example, but you're going to have a hard time pulling off Megadeth and Metallica just through the carving, and that's why I picked up this pedal. So I hope this has been somewhat insightful for you, and stay tuned to my channel. I'll be uploading some more reviews in the weeks to come.